feel love and fear not. When Dylan Thomas urged, "Do not go gentle into that good night, rage against the dying of the light," he touched on one of our greatest fears. Instead of seeing death as a gentle surrender, he saw it as the final battle of life, a defeat of the spirit and a bitter loss of everything we hold dear. This reflects the widespread and modern view that death is, in all ways, terrifying. The dread of losing forever those we love brings unfathomable grief, sorrow, and pain. Yet, as Richard Rioch notes in his book Dying Well, the fear of death has an irresistible magnetism. We are drawn to it, motivated by it, and appalled by it. Its power over us is fundamental to our existence. It triggers our entire nervous system at even the slightest threat, and moment after moment it drives the life functions of our internal organs. For many of us, the fear of death has many guises. For instance, the fear of losing ourselves. Where do we go? What becomes of us? Will we feel lost and alone? And how will those we leave behind manage when we are gone? Will pain overwhelm us? Will we lose our dignity in front of others? Will we be judged for things that we now regret? Might we be punished in this life or the next? The most overwhelming aspect of our fears often centers around the idea that we will sink into oblivion, a black, airless depth of nothingness. In the West, we have a deep mistrust and anxiety regarding voids and empty vacuums. We fill our lives up, packing every hour with stimulating experiences, trying at all costs to prevent nothingness and silence from creeping in. But if nothingness really worries you, think back to a time, perhaps the year before you were born, to when you weren't here. Do you miss it? As soul companions, we can sit and listen and reassure, but it is not our place to fix or rescue. Shallow reassurances and avoidance of difficult issues have no place in this work. If your friend has fears, encourage him or her to share them if they can. If the fears can't be resolved, they can at least be heard, witnessed, in a sense, and perhaps put to rest. If even this seems too difficult, light a candle and offer the fears up to be solved by the force of universal good. Creating our own good philosophy about death and addressing the big thoughts from the safety of our own inner world, while we are still well, certainly gives us strength when helping others. Some say that facing these fears is an essential part of dying, and that from working through them, we may reach a stronger and safer place. Death is so much a matter of perspective. Its illusionary nature can provide us with pertinent clues about the extraordinary nature of life. Within our lives, we are continually experiencing losses, some great and some small. The challenge of this is to greet each change with an attitude of acceptance and to live our lives in the present without regretting or hankering after the past or fearing the future. Death is one of these changes, simply a shift into the next phase. As the Danish philosopher Kierkegaard said, life must be lived forward, but can only be understood backwards. We are constantly in flux. If someone is having real difficulties in letting go, help them reflect on the innumerable deaths that all of us encounter over a lifetime. Our babyhood, starting school, how we slowly morphed into becoming teenagers and so on, until we can look back over a lifetime of stages and almost separate identities that were definitely us, but faded and adjusted until we became who we are now. Fear is nothing to be ashamed of. Even experienced professionals admit to having days when an unanticipated situation or scenario has thrown full light onto one of their own hidden demons. The fears of the dying can unwelcomingly magnify our own, and they may unexpectedly leap out of the shadows at us. It certainly helps us if we have come to peaceful terms with our own mortality when we sit with someone who is close to the end. working at heart level. It's so much easier to help someone to die gently if there is a bond of trust and empathy between you both, but it can take years to create this level of intimacy, and when someone is dying, time might be very short. If you are a carer who's reading this, you'll know how important it is to be able to reach this deep level of trust, where each feels comfortable and completely at ease with the other. One of the most powerful techniques that soul midwives use is creating a heart-soul connection with someone. If you are a reflexologist or aromatherapist and familiar with working on people's feet, this will feel entirely natural to you, but if not, you may need to practice a couple of times with friends and family before it feels comfortable. It involves simply placing the sole of the patient's foot against the heart of the carer. It doesn't sound much, but it's an act of extreme trust for both and sets up a rapport and intimacy between the two, even more so if the patient's soul touches the carer's heart with bare skin. If the idea of flesh-to-flesh contact is too daunting, and for some people it's just too intrusive, the foot can be wrapped in silk or clothed in soft socks and the feet positioned on a cushion. However it is undertaken, this simple exercise really helps to connect with someone and convey the sense of care that you will be working with. If we can reach out to others, both from the heart and to the heart, our work comes with a heightened connection and enhanced qualities of love and compassion. No amount of clever gestures and medical terminology can replace the therapeutic power of working heart to heart with someone who is close to the end. Most human beings relax when they are touched, and invisible barriers and unspoken fears melt away. The dark night of the soul. Jesus appealed to God when he was dying on the cross with heartbreaking vulnerability and rejection, saying, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" His words are often echoed by people experiencing the dark night of the soul. This is a stage when even the most spiritual people temporarily lose their faith and feel utterly abandoned. Along with their belief systems and inner strength, they start to doubt everything. This is the very lowest point in the pre-death stage and can last for days, but not usually any longer. As a soul companion, we can really lend our strength to someone going through this episode, which is, I feel, a link to making a final act of surrender, making the decision to let go and trust in whatever must be. I have noticed that it's often experienced in a much deeper way in people who have had very strong religious or spiritual beliefs, and especially seems to affect priests and healers. It's as if for a defined period near the point of death, they must detach from all comforting belief systems and their direct connection with the divine. It's an utterly desolate experience, empty, bleak, and a huge chasm to think into. For us as carers, it's helpful to know that it's just part of the process. Another sign that the ego is dissolving, and finally realizing that the truth and key to immortality are contained within ourselves. When this is finally accepted and when the surrender has taken place, the energy shifts from fear to enlightenment and can feel like the sun appearing from behind the clouds. Death or soul midwives. Death midwives act as spiritual and energetic guides for those at the time of their death. Forging a deep and intimate bond with the one dying, the midwife supports and assists her charge from across the bridge from this life into a new life on the other shore.